Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I will show you how to crochet a Christmas rose ornament. This is a fun and easy holiday project that you can put on your tree, you can put it on a gift, and it also makes a nice small little handmade gift if you need something for someone. For this project, you'll need small amounts of worsted weight yarn. I used Red Heart Super Saver. You can use any brand of worsted weight yarn that you like. I used a red, this is the cherry red, a lighter green, this is the spring green, and a darker green. I believe this is the emerald green. You'll also need a 5mm H crochet hook and a 6.5mm K crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a tapestry needle for doing the finish work of your ornament. So let's get started. Our Christmas rose ornament has a finished dimension of 5 inches tall from the top of this hanging loop to the bottommost point, and a width of 3.5 inches wide. And I showed you 2 hooks. The hanging loop is made with the K hook, and the leaves and rows are made with the H hook. We're going to begin our ornament by working on the rose part, so with your red yarn, or you can make your rose with white or yellow for a friendship rose. It's totally up to you. We're going to begin with the red yarn and the H hook. Begin by putting a slip knot on your hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook, bring up the loop and tighten. Then we'll have a starting chain of 16. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So we have our starting chain. Next, in the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to work a double crochet. To make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, and then we're going to do the 4th chain from the hook. This loop here does not count, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in this chain here, we'll work our double crochet. Again, to make the double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. We'll work 1 more double crochet in the same chain. And then for the remainder of the chains all the way across, we're going to work 3 double crochets in each chain. And what that's going to do, we're going to put lots of stitches in each chain. So what it's going to do is scrunch up our strip here and make it curl into our rose shape. So you can see it transform pretty quickly. So again, we're going to work 3 double crochets in each chain all the way across. So 1, 2, and 3, all in that same chain. Next chain, 1, 2, and 3. Next chain, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to continue this row and we'll meet up at the end. Again, we're putting 3 double crochets in every chain across. So we've been working 3 double crochets in each chain, and I'm up to the very last chain of our row. So I'm going to work 3 double crochets into that chain as well to finish off the flower. So as you can see, as we've been working all of these double crochets, it has started to coil and looks very much like our finished rose. So what we're going to do is take our scissors, cut the yarn, and fasten off. We're going to put our rose aside for now and work on the other pieces. And we're going to seam all of this stuff up and all the components at the end. So we're going to put our rose aside for now. Next, we're going to move on to the leaves. There are two sizes here. We have a large, darker green leaf and a smaller, lighter green leaf. Now, this is your project, so if you want to do all the same color leaves, or if you want to do, dark green small leaves, light green large leaves, it's totally up to you. So let's work on, I've already made a few leaves. You'll need 3 large leaves and 3 small leaves. So let's begin with a large leaf. You're going to want to make 3 of those. I've already made 2 and 2 small leaves. So to make the large leaf, we're using our H hook. We're going to chain 4. Put a slip knot on your hook and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the chain farthest from the hook, you're going to work a slip stitch. Insert the hook into the chain farthest from the hook, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. Then you can kind of open it up, and this is the ring that we'll work all of our stitches into. If we come back to our leaf, it's worked in the round. All stitches worked into the center of the ring. So we're going to begin by working 6 double crochets. So 1, oops, we dropped our stitch there. Let's try that again. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're making the bottom part of our leaf. Next, we'll work 4 single crochets. Insert the hook into the center, bring up a loop, yarn around the hook, bring it through both loops. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you need to push your stitches over, that's fine too. And this tail here, I'm holding along the edge, so as we work our stitches, it's weaving that end in as we go along as well. Next, we're going to work a treble crochet. Wrap yarn around hook 2 times, insert it into the center of the ring, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. And to finish our leaf, we'll work 4 more single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Join to close with a slip stitch, just like that. Then you can take your scissors, cut the yarn, go ahead and fasten off. We're going to keep this tail intact because that's what we're going to use to sew our finished ornament together. But this loop, this tail here on the back, you can pull to tighten and go ahead and trim that off because you won't need that. So your leaf, you can shape it up a little bit, shape up that point. So I've already went ahead and made 2 other ones, so we have our 3 leaves. And we have our rose so far, so we can put those aside. Next, we're going to make the smaller leaf. So for that, you'll need your lighter green yarn or whatever yarn you've chosen. And we'll make this smaller leaf here. We will be using an H hook also for the smaller leaf. Put a slip knot on your hook. And then chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Join in the farthest chain from the hook with a slip stitch. And then you have your ring. You can kind of open it up a little. Again, we're going to take this tail and hold it along the edge as we work our stitches, and that will weave that end in as we go along. That'll save you some work at the end because we have a lot of components to our ornament. Next, we're going to work 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we'll work a double crochet. This leaf is very tiny, so it's not a whole lot of stitches. Then we'll work 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we'll join with a slip stitch to finish our leaf. Again, it's tiny, so you might have to work your hook in there a little bit. So join and fasten off. You can cut the yarn and fasten off. Okay, and then our little leaf is pretty tiny, so you might want to shape it up, get a nice point on there. We're going to leave this tail intact because we're going to use that to sew it together. But you can flip your leaf over, and this other tail you can pull tight, the one from the center. Go ahead and trim your yarn. And you have your little leaf, okay? I've already made 2 other ones because you'll need 3. Okay, so you can put those aside. The final piece to our Christmas rose ornament is the hanging loop. So what you're going to do, I took the darker green and the red, but again, you can choose any combination you want. You can incorporate this lighter green also. And I took 2 colors. And for this part, we're going to be using our K hook. Okay, so just hold 2 strands of yarn in your hand. Try to get those ends lined up. Then we're going to again hold them together and put a slip knot on your hook. Just like that with both strands. And then you're simply going to just chain 18. So 1, both strands of yarn, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, some more yarn, 16, 17, 18. So it'll look kind of like that, and everything's looks kind of braided together. Then you're going to cut your yarn. You can go ahead and fasten it off, and you're going to leave your ends intact. So it'll look kind of like that. Okay, so you can put that aside. The final step of making our Christmas rose ornament is sewing everything together. So we have all of our components now. We have our hanging loop, we have our rose, we have 3 large leaves and 3 small leaves. Again, any color combination you like, it's totally up to you. You'll also need scissors and your tapestry needle for this part. So what we're going to do is we're going to sandwich everything together. If we come back to our rose, we have, it goes in this order: rose, smaller leaves, larger leaves, hanging loop, and it's all sandwiched together. So let's get the first part, the topmost part, and as you can see, this coil comes across. We can recoil it back together like that. Then you want to take one of the ends, when you're seaming a rose together or a curlicue flower of any kind, you want to keep in mind to get enough stitches in there to hold it together, but you don't want to over seam it because it will flatten your rose. Okay, so you're going to take your ends and then just kind of come up from the bottom and come up to the top. And you're just trying to tack it down a little. Just like that, with just a few well-placed stitches. Come up from the bottom. Now you can see it's kind of not together yet. So you're just gonna do a few well-placed stitches. And then you want both of the strands to be sort of on the back center of your rose. So our rose is stitched together. Then we're going to, our next layer are these smaller, lighter green leaves. So just grab, again, we left these tails intact because they're going to help us seam all this together. So when I did mine, I kind of did, it's not a perfect triangle, but I kind of did a triangle with my smaller leaves. And then when I went and did the larger leaves, I kind of did a triangle that way as well. So I have my tail on my tapestry needle. You can just take this first little leaf like this, flip it over, and then just do a few stitches just to get it on there. Doesn't have to be, you know, you don't need a whole lot of stitches to hold this stuff on, but you do need a few well-placed stitches to hold it on, okay? So then you can just, once you get your little leaf on there, you can just make a little knot by going in with your needle through one of these loops and pulling it, okay? So repeat that for the other green leaves. And you can kind of hold it on there to make your triangle. So go ahead and sew the other two smaller leaves on at this point. So I went ahead and sewed the other two little leaves on there. Then you can do the next layer, which is the larger, darker green leaves. So you're just going to do that the same exact way. And again, I followed kind of a rough triangle shape here. So you can kind of put those in between, just like that. So just flip it over. Again, we have lots of tails, and we'll take care of all those tails at the end. So you can just go ahead and move some of these tails out of the way. Just go ahead and seam the green leaf on there. I'm coming in, picking up the red, picking up the green, and pulling it through, kind of like a whip stitch when you're seaming pieces together, doing it the same way. Okay, then when you're done the leaf, you can kind of just knot it off, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other two leaves. I'm just kind of putting them in between these lighter green leaves, just like that. So I'm going to sew these other green leaves, and then we'll rejoin in just a moment. So I went ahead and sewed the other two leaves. So now we have all 6 leaves on our Christmas rose. The last thing we're going to do is attach the hanging loop. So I've left the tails intact, and I'm going to get both of these 2 tails on my tapestry needle. just like that. And you'll want to look at your rose and figure out where you want your hanging loop to be. And you can shape it up a little if you need to. But so I'm going to put my hanging loop right here. So you're just going to kind of eye it up and see how you want it to go. Make sure everything's nice and straight. Then you can flip it over and then go ahead and sew this hanging loop right onto the back. Now we have all these ends and we're going to take care of those in just a moment. So just go ahead, and I didn't put my edge right on this edge. I came down a little ways towards the middle because you want it to be nice and sturdy. We haven't done this side yet, and we'll get these ends out of the way. So go ahead and sew that on. And I sewed just a little bit of this part on too, not just the tip, but come up a little ways too and sew that on. And that will make everything nice and sturdy. The front of our ornament is heavier than the back because we sandwiched it together. See how it sticks out? So you'll want to securely sew this on so that the front of it isn't sagging forward like that. So it hangs nice and straight. So I came in a ways on mine to sew that hanging loop on. And you can do the same thing to get yours nice and sturdy. So you'll want to get that hanging loop nice and secure onto your piece. So then when you're finished the one side, you can bring the other side around and sew that side as well. So I have my other side, and I'm just bringing it around to make a loop, and then you'll sew this side also. So just go in. Again, I threaded both strands that I used to make the hanging loop, and then you'll also want to sew this part down a little bit. That will get everything nice and sturdy, and nothing will be flopping around or drooping or hanging forward. So everything will hang nice and straight. Okay, so just get that part sewn in. Pull everything nice and snug. And then you have your hanging loop. So you can even so you can also tie these with some of the other strands and tie them together. So our Christmas rose is looking like our other one. It's looking pretty good, but we have all these ends to weave in. So what you can do, you can either cut these and just cut them and just have kind of an unfinished back, or you can cut them, and I've done sometimes when I have a lot of ends like this, you could just glue with some fabric glue or hot glue a little disc of felt. Just cover all that, the mechanics of your ornament. Or you can do what I did and go ahead and just weave all those in. And I'll show you how to do one, and then you can repeat for the rest of them. But we have a lot of components, so we had a lot of ends. So for the ends, you're just gonna, there we go. You're just gonna thread your tapestry needle and then just go in one direction. There's a lot of layers, so it's pretty bulky on the back. One direction, come back in the other direction. You can take your tapestry needle off and cut that yarn. So then you'll just repeat for the rest of your ends here. Then when you're finished, you can kind of just shape everything up, get those leaves, those points nice and sharp, kind of fluff up your rose, and make sure nothing's twisted. So that is how you crochet the Christmas Rose Ornament. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.